the constitution of the country. And it says that it is their considered view that the committee erred in making such recommendations. It says the bully approval process by the NPP majority in the last parliament and subsequent acquiescence of President Akufo-Addo of the recommendation is an unjustifiable assault on the constitution which must not go unchallenged. So it ends by saying that in line with this, the youth wing will in the coming days invoke the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to declare this what they describe as cancerous and insensitive act unconstitutional. And by this circular, it has announced the hashtag no salary uprising across the nation by the young people of this country until what it describes as this obnoxious development is reversed.
We'll be hearing from the youth organizer of the NDC shortly. Maxwell, stay with us because there are some reactions coming in on this.
A lot of reactions indeed. The Vice Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Patrick Yalbwama, is justifying the decision to pay the spouses of presidents and vice presidents' salaries. Now, in an interview with Joy News, my colleague, parliamentary correspondent Joseph Gakpo, he stated the spouses of the two play supportive roles and must be duly rewarded.
They all contribute their quota to the development of this country. Can you imagine having a wife as president not supporting you to help achieve a certain aspect of the nation's or a certain aspect of your ambition, be it in the health sector or education sector? So sometimes we always look at the monetary aspect, not looking at the contributions that they bring to the table. Mr. Akufo-Addo is doing a lot of colleagues. Everybody is happy about it. Mrs. Baumia is also doing something very good around the country. Mrs. Kufuor did the Mother and Child Foundation. Sometimes through them, various non-governmental organizations are able to channel some supplies through their organizations. And it comes to Ghanaians. You never know which member of your family has benefited from some of their initiatives. It's possible.
Shouldn't it be humanitarian? I'm sure your good wife as well also does some of these.
She does.
Good things for the good people of Okaikwe.
They do. She does.
Okaikwe Central.
She does.
So shouldn't it be seen in that light than wanting to kind of reward them as well?
It's a privilege occupying a certain position. And there's weight to be attached to every position and what you can do. My wife will not be invited to speak at a gender and children's session at the United Nations. She won't. But the first ladies have a forum that they converge and speak because the world has gotten to appreciate their role. The world has gotten to appreciate their role. They didn't start in Ghana. ECOWAS first ladies, African first ladies, when they go to the United Nations, their spouses are there. They hold different sessions for them so that they can also contribute certain important quota to the development of their respective country and the world at large. So it is in that light and that vein of wisdom that I don't think they are paid anything extraordinary. I haven't seen the figures, but
we are told it's pegged at the level of ministers of state in terms of the remuneration that all the emoluments that go.
Joseph, how much do ministers of state earn in this country? Joseph, I know you spend a lot of money on individuals who come your way. How much? How much at all?
So for you, it's not so much of a big deal as it's being portrayed.
It's not. I'm looking at it from what they bring in return to the country, the value they bring in return to the country.
So the information minister makes the point that it's always been there, previous first ladies.
I'm sure somebody wanted to fix the country with some propaganda. So the person went to resurrect something that has always been there.
Well, but the point is, the 7th Parliament sought to formalize it, which was how coming was in the emolument report. But then
why is it coming up now? This thing was in the last report.
So and that's Patrick Yalbwama. He's a vice chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, speaking to Joseph Opoku Gakpo, justifying it. Well, the executive director of the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, Professor Henry Kwesi Prempeh, has also been speaking about this. Maxwell, what has he been saying?
Well, he says that the list of covered office holders is exhaustive. The Article 71 Emoluments Committee has no authority to recommend payment of any allowance or emolument to first or second spouses, as these are not Article 71 offices or office holders. And of course, the Constitution does not require or compel a president or vice president to have a spouse. He continues to say that if government wants to pay first and second spouses from the public purse, it must introduce a bill to that effect. The clear import of Articles 108 and 178 of the Constitution is that Parliament, on its own accord, cannot, on its own accord, initiate or approve payment of any such emolument. He ends by saying that the political class cannot use the Article 71 process to smuggle in salaries or allowances for first and second spouses. If that is what they want done, they must get the government to boldly introduce a bill to that effect, making a case for such emolument and thereby allow and ensure public participation in the legislative debate on this matter.
Okay, thank you very much, Maxwell Agbegba. Let's first bring in the National Youth Organizer of the NDC. We'll also be joined by Professor Ransford Jampo, political science lecturer and governance expert. Mr. Opariado, thank you very much for your time here on Newsnight. So we're told that this is not new. This is something we've been paying for some time now. We're only formalizing it. Why then do you want to go to the Supreme Court over this?
Good evening to your esteemed listeners. To the best of our knowledge, this is new. Every government, successive governments have always, through budgetary allocations, made some budgetary allocations to the office of both the first and second ladies to run the administrative offices. But for you to set up an emoluments committee to look into Article 71 office holders and then add that of the first lady and the second lady is totally new and alien. Article 71 is very clear. The wording in Article 71 is very clear. It is not ambiguous. So you cannot end up smuggling in the wife or the spouses of the president and then the vice president. Our concern is with the payment of emoluments. Emoluments may include allowances and salaries. And all we are saying is that the wording in Article 71 is clear. The people who qualify under Article 71 is stated. Under no circumstances should anybody smuggle in other people who are not Article 71 office holders. Article 108 states that if you want to burden the consolidated fund, then you must lay a bill before Parliament properly so that it will be debated. The people, when we say the people, our representatives in Parliament will debate the issues and then come to a reasonable conclusion that is it proper to pay salaries to the spouses of the president or the vice president.
Okay.
In the absence of that, then the president cannot use the committee he set up, the Professor Yain Chiamwabedi committee, to smuggle that in. And that is the argument we are making. It is unconstitutional. We invoke the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to pass final judgment. At least for now, to the best of my legal mind, I don't see how that is feasible. It cannot be the case. And it is unfortunate that the deputy ranking member for, is it a finance committee or so?
The vice chairman.
Justifying it. What we have known that have existed in times past is not emoluments and payment of salaries to first and second ladies. We know that they run their office. Yes, we agree there is an office for them.
Okay, so no salary uprising we are told that you're embarking on. But I would want to find out how soon this move that you're going to take, going to the Supreme Court, when exactly is that going to happen? How soon will that happen?
Very soon. We intend to first petition the president and then also petition Parliament to do something about it. And then if nothing is done immediately about it, then we'll proceed to the Supreme Court for a proper interpretation of Article 71 being read together at Article 108.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the National Youth Organizer of the NDC, George Opariado.
Let's bring in now a political science lecturer and a governance analyst, Professor Ransford Jampo, who also joins us on the telephone line right now on this. Professor Jampo, so the justification is that the First Ladies, as we've heard from Patrick Boama, they do a lot and they need to be rewarded. After all, we've been paying allowances for their offices for a while now. So why don't you regularize that through a formal salary?
All right. I think this is a matter or a case of a good intention wrongly prosecuted. If you tell me the First Ladies do a lot, I mean, it's fake. What exactly do they do? The office of the First Lady is merely ceremonial. It is an informal or a dysfunctional structure that is not provided for in our 1992 Constitution. We know they do a lot, maybe behind the scenes. They cook for the president, they feed them, and they give them the right frame of mind that they need most to govern us. But if we want to regularize and so, for that matter, pay them, And I believe there are processes that will have to be resorted to ensure that they are paid. And in my view, I also share the earlier sentiments that then you should bring them to include the list of Article 71 office, holders. If and there's a way to go about that, if we have to go through the changes in our constitutional provisions to ensure that they are they become Article 71 office holders. I mean, that would be a decision that we would have to brainstorm on and then decide. But the point is, it was a good gesture, I believe, that Jim Kufuor initiated, that those former heads of state who may have passed on and whose wives were leaving and needed some assistance from the state should be given some allowances. But to my mind, I didn't think that this gesture should have been extended to the wives of certain presidents and wives of certain vice presidents. I believe that their husbands are properly catered for by the state to be able to take care of their wives. Otherwise, if we really want, if that's the route we want to go, if we want to cater for them by the taxpayers' resources, then number one, let us all have a consensus or agreement about the role of first ladies within the body politic and in shaping governance. What is that? Some are running foundations, some are representing some are doing so many, but let us have a clear understanding of the role of first ladies and second ladies within the body politic. Number two, let us decide, okay, so how many offices are they entitled to? Let us also know how many staff are they entitled to? How many people are supposed to be working under them? And those people who are supposed to be working under them, what exactly will they be doing? Now, if we are able to agree on all this, then we can properly budget. We can properly budget for the activities. Otherwise, the current arrangement, not backed by law, open the floodgates for nepotistic appointment, to the offices of these first and second ladies. I mean, they can decide to surround themselves with their family people, and then they are being paid by the state and all that. These will not augur well for a nation that is fighting the canker of corruption.
Yeah, I mean, and you make that point because I also want to ask what the timing of this. At the time when we have fixed the country, the general discontent that has spilled onto the streets in Nigeria. Some people have been killed, and they're coming on the back of, the luxurious hiring of a jet for the president. Because you're a political analyst, I mean, there's definitely in these matters always a certain political cost, at least to the party in government, when it sort of snowballs into public dissent and resentment.
Well, the timing would have been wrong yesterday, and it is. I think that we are a developing country fighting hard to extricate ourselves from the quagmires of poverty and underdevelopment. And so, rather than putting a lot of pressure on the consolidated fund, I think we must free the consolidated fund. We have a lot of resources with which President Akufo-Addo can prosecute other agendas that would directly benefit ordinary people so that he can leave a legacy for Ghana. I don't think that the way to go now as a developing country is to put a lot of pressure again on the consolidated fund. If some form of allowances are given to former heads of state, the wives of former heads of state, I have no problem. But I think that the current president and the current vice president are better resourced to be able to take care of their wives.
Okay. Prof, thank you very much for your time. That's Rasford Jumpo there with the University of Ghana, also a governance analyst there. Emefa, let's speak to a member of parliament now. We've heard from the majority side. Let's hear from the minority side. We can bring in Roxanne Dafia-Mekbo. He is a member on the Legal Constitutional Affairs Committee in Parliament. Mr. Dafia-Mekbo, thank you for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Parliament approved this, did you not?
Yes, to the extent that the entire report came to Parliament for approval, yes. But if you recall, during the approval of this report, the minority chief whip, the Honorable Muntaka Mohammed, clearly articulated the position of the minority that the aspect of the recommendation that suggests clearly that some form of emolument, which is now being described as monthly wages be given to the spouses of the sitting president and the vice, it's clearly illegal. It's an unconstitutionality because they do not find expression in Article 71 office holders, which was the mandate for the committee to go and review the emoluments and other provisions attendant to those office holders. But his views were shut down by the majority then. And the resolution was passed and the report approved. So it's not as if Parliament regarded this illegality and approved of it without any criticism. It was done.
But this criticism, Mr. Dafiamekpo, this criticism that you talk about, knowing the minority that we know, maybe you weren't loud enough in terms of this criticism, because there's a process that we need to go through for this to be formalized. It doesn't look like that happened. And you say you criticized. How loud did you criticize this?
You see, if now the issue is that we ought to have been very loud, it's so unfortunate. Now, the approval process is one of resolution taking. If you take the resolution and you lose out, the other available remedy for you is for you to proceed to a court of law for a determination regarding the proper interpretation of that.
But Mr. I guess the question is, if you were so opposed, why didn't you take that course of action that your party is now? The question is, if you were so opposed to it, why didn't you take that course of action you now just suggested, which your party is now going to take on at the court?
No, let me explain this. When Parliament approves of these things, it has to take the president to determine whether or not he's in favor of all the recommendations as contained in the report.
I mean, but it's strange that you say that. I mean, you're approving payment for his wife. Why would he say anything else other than thank you very much?
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Dafiamekpo.
Yeah, you said we approve of something. And
I'm saying that you said it's up to the president to decide what to do after you've approved. I'm just asking that you're approving payments for his wife, the president. Why would he say anything other than thank you very much?
You know, we raised the issue of constitutionality and the legality of that. So it was up to the president to say that, yes, even though that recommendation is contained in the report, it is unconstitutional, it is illegal, and therefore he would not agree to it.
I mean, but Mr. Dafiamekpo, I come back to my point. You've raised constitutional issues and about paying the president's wife. And you say it's up to him to now say, oh, yeah, I agree with you. I don't want to pay my president's wife because I pay my wife. Because if I do, I agree, it's illegal. That simply is expecting too much from the man who is going to benefit.
The president is supposed to have a conscience. Now, if you proceed to a court of law before the president...
But how about your conscience as MPs as well?
Can I finish?
Finish.
Now, the president just issued... These matters are coming up because the president had just issued a letter accepting the recommendation. If you proceed to court...
Because you are paying his wife. Of course he will issue a letter.
Evans, let me finish. If you proceed to court challenging the aspect of the report to this effect, and the president comes out later to say that he disagrees with that recommendation, then you would have been shooting yourself in the foot. You wouldn't have had any course of action to proceed on. So we were waiting. The president had just issued a letter accepting that recommendation. This is when our course of action has matured. So this is the time to go to court.
I'm grateful, Roxanne Dafiamekpo, for your time here on this all-important matter. You want to join us on PM Express because we're going to break this down even further for you, as we all do, the bigger picture at 9 p.m.
Well, let's move on to some other stories before we bring in George with business. You know that we have that big game coming up later, England versus Denmark. We have live commentary here. But for the next 2 weeks, no one will be allowed into the Achimota school. Neither will anyone be allowed in. That's the new measure introduced by the Ghana Health Service to contain the outbreak of the deadly Delta variant of COVID-19 at the senior high department of the school. Head of our health desk, Fred Smith, has been following the situation and now joins us in studio with more on this. First off, Fred, bring us up to speed on what has been done in response to the outbreak there on campus.
Thank you, Emefa. Since we got to know about the situation at the Achimota school, the health authorities have been teaming up with the school authorities as well as the education authorities from the GAS to try and see how they manage or contain the situation. And what they've done so far is to do assessment of this situation by testing all those who are at the school. So the students, day and boarding students have been tested. The teaching and non-teaching staff have also been tested, and the details of how that was done is given in this soundbite by Dr. Franklin Esiedu-Bekoe. He is the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service.
We had this genomic analysis that actually isolated Delta variant. So because of the effectiveness of or efficiency of the Delta variant, we said, and at that time we are not confirmed any Delta variant in the country. So we said, now let's assume that Achimota is the hotspot. So we don't want the virus to move to the community. So one sure way of doing that is that we're going to test all negative, all the day students. Because they commute, the borders are intact. So we've done the testing of all the day students as of now. That is Form 2 and Form 3. The formats are in full. Then we've also tested the teachers and the non-teaching staff. And then some of the teachers have actually vaccinated. So by testing the day students, a number of them have become positive. So what we've done is that we have put them in our isolation center. And then a few of them have actually been managed at home.
All right, so as you heard there, Dr. Franklin Esiedu-Bekoe has been explaining what they've been doing. So far, they've done 1,118 tests at Achimota, and they've had 163 positive cases so far. But we have currently 46 active cases, means majority of those who tested positive have now recovered.
Okay, so he's been telling us also about the plan in place to ensure that this Delta variant, which has been recorded at that school, does not get to the general population.
Yes, indeed. So for those who are positive, they've isolated them. Some are at the isolation center at Pantang. Others are also being managed at home. Some also being managed in the school. And what they're saying is that for the next 2 weeks, they are trying to prevent a spread into the community. And so for those who are there, they will remain. For those who are out of the school, they will not also be allowed to come in. More like a lockdown, a localized lockdown at Achimota School. We can hear him.
Try to make sure you contain it. And what we are also doing is that, like the positive cases, we've identified their close relatives, and we are testing them. You know, when we talked about detecting the variants at the airport, what we said was that we cannot confirm whether the variant was in the community. You understand? Because what we did at that time was to detect it at the airport, but we could not be sure. So for now, as far as possible, we cannot be sure where someone has slipped into the community, but based on our approach, most of them are now within the confines of Achimota, because the borders are now intact. We are not going to allow any visitation to the school for the next 2 weeks. Likewise, any students don't going to allow to go out, so we are going to contain within the school. And then the day students who are commuting in and out, those who are negative, are going to be kept at home for the next 2 weeks, while those who are positive are going to be kept in isolation. So clearly, there's a well-defined plan to contain the situation in the school. And I think that so far is going fine for us.
That's the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Esiedu-Bekoe there. It's time for business. George, welcome.
Emefa, so is it coming home tonight, or is going to coming home or roam?
Home.
Okay.
Proper home.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be looking forward to that to see.
And it will be a celebration.
Well, Emefa, coming up in business, we hear the thoughts of an economist as Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta prepares to present the mid-year review of estimates in the last week of this month. And renowned economist Kwame Pianim describes recent expenditure on free water and electricity during COVID-19 as misplaced. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. To the new world of business, Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials, and Alliance Live. Let's now get into the details of these stories. Some economists have been sharing their thoughts on the mid-year review of the 2021 budget estimates. Now, Joy Business is learning that the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, is expected to carry out this presentation the last week of this month. Now, there have been reports that the Minister could also table a supplementary budget looking at the current challenges facing the economy. Senior economist Courage Mate believes that the Minister should be moderate with his review.
Well, I don't think that it would be optimal to introduce new measures that would aggressively push for revenue again, especially less than 6 months after the introduction of new taxes and levies in the 2021 budget. If there are measures that would prop up social welfare, well, those would be welcome by the population. But I believe if there are measures that would want to raise additional revenue in addition to what has already been implemented in the 2021 budget, it may become distortionary. And on the real side and measures to prop up growth for this year, a lot depends on how government would want to roll out the Ghana Cares program.
Courage Mate is an economist. Now, renowned economist Kwame Pianim has described the recent expenditure on free water and electricity during the COVID-19 pandemic as misplaced. Now, government was said to have spent millions of Ghana cedis to cushion consumers that were hit badly by the pandemic. But speaking of the TESA Capital Investment Dialogue series, Mr. Pianim noted that this should have been directed to other areas.
That was the opportunity to go into the countryside, dig a lot of boreholes, make sure that people's waters were safe, because basically it's washing your hands that is important. Yeah. So to have water to wash your hands is critical. And giving water away in the urban areas when the bulk of our people are in the rural areas doesn't help. Electricity, we are not even paying for it to the producers. We owe them a lot of money. So that's not the thing to give away. So you see, what can I give away that will help all of us? And to me, if our debt to GDP were to be 90%, and some of it is going to create productive assets that will lead to investment, that would be fantastic.
Meanwhile, the economist has also called for the protection of investors and entrepreneurs in the country because they can be described as national assets. He therefore called on the Bank of Ghana and the Ghana Bank Association and the accountancy groups, among others, to educate Ghanaians on financial literacy. He also alleged that Facebook was refused license to serve, actually to host one of the servers here in the country. Two other stories, Ecobank has paid a dividend worth 28.8 million Ghana cedis to the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, presenting about 16% stake in the bank. Managing Director of Ecobank Ghana, Dan Saki, in making the presentation, says the dividend payment reflects the buoyant performance of the bank in the pandemic.
We are paying 28.8 million cedis as dividend for last year, representing the return on SNET's 16% plus stake in EcoBank. And this represents a significant increase when you compare with last year. We paid a dividend of around 15.7 million. So this reflects, one, the improved performance and also the improved capitalization of the bank, that's allowing the central bank to gracefully approve the payment of a dividend payment compared to what was approved last year.
Director General of SNET, John Tenkrang, actually commended EcoBank for honoring its obligations. According to him, the payment comes in handy to support SNET's monthly payment of SNET. Now, the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana has launched this year's edition of the annual National Marketing Performance Awards. The 32nd since its inception aims to reposition Ghana on leveraging on the African Continental Free Trade Agreement for economic development. Let's hear from Dr. Daniel Kasati. He is the National President of the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana.
This launch is going to be the theme that is going to cut through all activities of CIMG till the end of the year. We have one of our key agenda for the year be advocacy. We are going to explore ways by which we can advocate for the nation Ghana to come to the realization that, yes, AFTA has come, yes, AFTA is being housed here in Ghana because we have the secretariat, but we need to consciously, marshal our resources to take advantage. Corporate Ghana needs to set the agenda for business entities to follow. So we say, yes, Nation Ghana must show the signpost.
Dr. Daniel Kasati is the national president of the Chartered Institute of Market in Ghana to the stock market, and it continues to make some good returns for you. From beginning of this year to now, you might have made a return of 36.53% if you have invested on the market better than your savings and also your treasury bills. That's all for business on Newsnight.
Thank you very much, George, for business. Well, there are some messages. Somebody asking when he hears supporters of Three Lions say that football is coming home, he wonders which home and that who told us that football is homeless. But we'll see tonight whether football is homeless or not. Some of your messages, we'll be going through them. But many governments have promised and failed to deliver basic services that can support headquarters, otherwise known as KIA. The most recent of these promises is one made by Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in 2019. My colleague, Justice Bedu, brings back the promises and goes back into Old Fadama, Ghana's largest slum, to find out if anything has changed.
It is Tuesday, November 5, 2019. Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia has come to Old Fadama. He has a high-powered delegation of government ministers following him. The entire slum is at a standstill. Thousands have come to meet him in pomp and pageantry.
The lives of the people of Agboboloshi matter as much as the lives of the people of East Legon or cantonments.
The vice president is on a promising spree.
We are going to build 4 different 8-unit toilets for this community.
The people of Agboboloshi. Nana Akufo-Addo say,
President Akufo-Addo says we should build a new one for you. It should be a story building structure so that you can use it for your community activities.
The government has also put in its budget for 2019 a hostel facilities where KIAs will sleep, and is going to set up a scheme to train more than 10,000 KIAs to start their own businesses. It's been 2 years. None of that has happened.
You didn't honor even one of those promises. Once you make up a promise to do something, and based on the basis of which people vote for you, there is the reason for you to come back and honor that promise. So if you don't do it, as any normal human being will feel, it's bad.
You cannot promise and you are not doing anything. And we are following you. You just come and give out 20 cedi, receiving. Sometimes everybody voting than our top points now they are my. Because we said we should continue the work. We shouldn't change any work. So you don't want our life to be changed, so that we should continue to carry the kaya.
Kaya have many girls like myself involved in it. Some girls are even much younger than myself. We had wished that our government will reach out and find a way to help us to be better. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. They rather tell lies to us.
Justice Bedu, Joy News, Apawu.
And we've reached out to the Vice President's office and that of the AMA Mayor as well, but for some reaction. But they've declined comment for now on this particular development. And that's how we wrap up tonight's edition. Evans?
Yes, and we are looking forward to that game, England versus Denmark. I have my money firmly on Denmark.
You want us to bet live on radio?
Oh, yes, let's bet.
How much are you betting?
Lunch at...
My children are listening. You
lunch.
Can't bet right
Why?
now.
Let's bet.
Betting, no.
I want lunch tomorrow at the most expensive restaurant in Ghana.
Which is?
I tell you in private. But let's do. What's yours? What are you... What?
It's on England. I want cash.
How much?
Like 5,000.
Hey.
Cash. 5,000. I need to do
can I change my... Can I change...
No. You can't go back on it. It's coming home. It's England tonight.
Well, I'll find the lunch that will cost more than 5,000. That one I will find. Okay. Well, listen. Enjoy the game. It's coming up next.